Let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to unpack a massive, silent revolution that's fundamentally shifting the foundation of arguably the world's most talked about company. For years, the headlines have just been completely dominated by cars, factory outputs, and CEO drama. But right now, we're going to look past all that noise and focus on the cold, hard data to reveal an entirely different story.
Okay, check out this absolutely jarring paradox. While the whole world is busy debating declining electric vehicle sales, an astounding 55% of Tesla's 2025 revenue in Australia came entirely from battery storage. Not cars, batteries. More than half their revenue across an entire continent. When you see a data point that so wildly contradicts the popular narrative, well, you just know there's a much deeper structural shift happening beneath the surface.
So this creates a fascinating mystery that we really need to unravel together today. How exactly is a famous automaker from Texas building a massive energy utility empire on the other side of the globe? And why, of all places, is Australia the launchpad for this global transformation?
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the 55% surprise. Then, Australia's unique grid problem. Third, the 100-day bet. Fourth, Tesla's 4 core advantages. Fifth, vulnerabilities and trade risks. And finally, number 6, the megablock future.
Let's start right off with number 1, the 55% surprise.
To really understand why Tesla leaned so incredibly hard into energy, we have to look at the immense pressure they're facing on the road. Facing some fierce competition from aggressively priced brands like BYD and MG, Tesla's vehicle sales in Australia have dropped sharply. We're talking a fall from over 38,000 units in 2024 to under 29,000 in 2025. Because of this intense squeeze, battery storage isn't just some, experimental side project for them anymore. It has literally become a genuine lifeline for survival and growth in this market.
Which brings us to number 2, Australia's unique grid problem.
So Australia actually leads the world in rooftop solar during the day. Seriously, about 1 in every 3 homes has solar panels. But obviously, at night, the sun sets, and a vast, geographically scattered population suddenly has to rely on an aging grid. Now, for decades, that grid has been heavily dependent on coal plants. The catch? The Australian government has mandated that these coal plants must shut down by 2030. That leaves a colossal, continent-sized hole in energy generation.
So the crucial point here, the real game changer, is this specific technology, the grid-forming battery. You see, when massive coal plants shut down, the grid actually loses inertia. That's the physical spinning weight that keeps the power frequency stable. Well, Tesla is one of the very few companies that has genuinely mastered large-scale grid-forming batteries which actually digitally replace that lost inertia. This unique capability, that's exactly what made them the strategic partner of choice to keep an entire country's lights on as coal disappears.
All right, let's move to section 3, the 100-day bet.
I want you to think back to 2017. The state of South Australia suffers a massive blackout, leaving millions totally in the dark. While the industry scrambled, Elon Musk posted a tweet guaranteeing Tesla could build the world's largest battery to fix the problem in 100 days, or it would be totally free. Now, the traditional power industry openly mocked this, but let me tell you, they were abruptly silenced when the Hornsdale Power Reserve went online just 63 days later. That is nearly 40 days ahead of schedule.
While that sheer speed was impressive, what's truly staggering is the economic impact. By responding to grid disruptions in fractions of a second, which is way faster than any conventional coal or gas plant ever could, that single Hornsdale project saved South Australians roughly $150 million in grid stabilization costs. And that was just in its first year. It completely proved the technology wasn't just viable, it was vastly superior economically.
That initial success basically became the definitive blueprint. Fast forward to today, and Tesla operates 17 of these massive grid-forming projects across Australia. And notice the beautiful, poetic irony of this transition. The Collie and Stanwell projects aren't just built anywhere. These cutting-edge clean energy megapacks are being installed directly on top of century-old coal mines and adjacent to the very coal plants they are destined to replace. Plus, with the Melbourne hub being co-owned by the government, it really shows how this whole thing has escalated from a tech experiment to a sovereign national strategy.
Let's dive into number 4, Tesla's 4 core advantages.
You might be wondering how they stay on top. Well, Tesla maintains its iron grip through 4 unmatched advantages. First up is speed. They can deploy a massive utility project in 12 to 18 months, compared to a sluggish 5 to 7 years for traditional power plants. Second is tech. They possess this critical black start capability, meaning their batteries can literally restart the entire grid from a total blackout. Third is AutoBidder. This is an incredible piece of software that autonomously trades electricity on the spot market 24/7, effectively turning these batteries into continuous revenue generation machines. And finally, ecosystem. They are committing to the local economy by building a remanufacturing facility right in Collie by 2026, which creates real local jobs in transitioning coal towns.
But it's not all smooth sailing. Which brings us to number 5, vulnerabilities and trade risks.
Yeah, it's definitely not a clean sweep across the board. While they absolutely rule the massive utility-scale grid market, Tesla is actually losing the residential battle. In the Australian home battery market, their famous Powerwall has slipped to 4th place. They're actively being outpaced by fast-rising Chinese brands like Sig Energy and Sungrow, who are stepping up and offering highly competitive residential alternatives.
But here is the massive, somewhat hidden supply chain vulnerability behind their grid dominance. Absolutely 100% of the actual battery cells inside Tesla's massive megapacks are currently imported from China.
Now, regardless of where you stand politically on international trade, the economic reality from the source data is totally undeniable. Tesla themselves admit this heavy reliance on Chinese supply chains is a critical risk. Escalating global trade tensions and rising tariffs are actively squeezing the profit margins of their energy segment. This vulnerability is pushing them to urgently build a massive new Megapack factory in Texas to secure their own supply chain, although keep in mind, that won't be fully operational until late 2026.
All right, let's look ahead with number 6, the megablock future.
Their answer to scaling up comes in the form of the newly announced megablock. Australia is slated to be the very first market to receive this integrated system which combines multiple next-generation Mega 3 units. What you should really take away from this is the sheer density. We are talking about achieving 248 megawatt-hours per acre. That is the absolute highest energy density in the industry today. This is the exact hardware that will turn bold national infrastructure targets into concrete, on-the-ground reality.
And this localized Australian success? It's really the leading indicator of a massive global shift. Just look at these 2025 numbers. $12.77 billion in revenue, which is up 27%. But the most shocking stat? Quietly, without flashy press releases or huge media events, energy storage now drives nearly a quarter of Tesla's entire total consolidated gross profit. Think about that for a second. The energy tail is quite literally starting to wag the automotive dog.
And this isn't peaking anytime soon, folks. When Joseph Todek, the regional director for Tesla Energy, states that their current massive 4.5 gigawatt target is just the starting point and will confidently double, well, you have to pay attention. Executives just don't speak with this kind of absolute certainty unless they are executing a fully locked-in roadmap of signed contracts, not just selling investors a dream.
Which brings us to our final thought. As we watch this highly profitable energy empire literally rise from the ashes of old coal mines in Australia, it forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew. If batteries are driving a quarter of the profits and growing exponentially faster than vehicle sales, is the world fundamentally misunderstanding the company Tesla has actually become? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll see you on the next one.